move fast and break things, launch and innovate, which I just call meaningful, purposeful work. When you enjoy what you're doing, when you're working on stuff that's impactful and you're not being weighed down by bureaucracy or processes that take time away from what you want to be doing. So those are the problems we've been thinking about. And when we think about the solution, and not that we created it, when we think about how humans work in tribes from Sapiens, what it means to remove intermediaries from the Ethereum white paper, how businesses are already being successful from reinventing organizations, we realize it all comes down to the team. The team is the center of everything. And if a team doesn't have a purpose, then it shouldn't exist. So this is the Sobel interface. So again, it looks different than most org charts because we're not focused on someone has this power. This VP can decide things and hire and fire at his or her will because, again, this idea of vice president isn't a real thing. It's something that we've collectively decided is something that we should respect, even if the vice president makes horrible decisions. And we see this all the time in business where someone has a title, again, imaginary construct from Homo sapien, that shouldn't necessarily have that power. What we then do is we take these teams, and instead of saying you're a user in the team, we say teams have roles. Because in most organizations I've seen or been in, you do many things across the organization. You might come in with a title or an initial responsibility, but when it comes down to it, you have different roles across an organization. And roles are things that you're doing. Role isn't, I'm a director, because again, there's zero shared world context with what that means. Even though it might be something that exists in many different geographies. And then we break that down even further. Within each role, you have accountability. So there's goals you're responsible for that are transparently shared, not just across teams, but across an organization. And finally, what I think is the most important thing is the concept of agreements. So when we think about how do I work with another team or my own team members if we're co-located and we want to get rid of these intermediary type structures, we put in agreements. And from firsthand experience of the Sobel team, working with different entities, usually in consensus, and with hearing feedback from other companies or circles, when teams take the time to create an agreement, to review it, to talk about what the responsibilities are to each other, how do the dispute resolution mechanics, timelines, and that's all set out. And yes, it takes time. It takes a little more time than just sending an email or agreeing to something on Zoom. But when you do it and all parties sign and they attach goals and responsibilities to those agreements, it improves things so significantly. There's a team we work with, and we've been very thoughtful, both teams, about this process, and it has been just this exceptional working experience. And there's another team where everything, we can't get them to come to an agreement, so everything's done via email, via Zoom, and of course, people like, I didn't agree to that, or you didn't hear what I said, or no, that's not the right timeline, and it's night and day. It is amazing how, if you follow the process of creating these agreements, and remember, inter-team agreements exist too. So as a Sobel team, we say, these are our team values. This is how we request more resources. This is how we hire. This is how we fire. This is how we work together. And it's not one person, it's not someone with an imaginary title saying it. It's that we've collectively agreed to it, and we all sign it, we talk about it, and we work together in that way. And it is just night and day in terms of, it's like agreements are the fabric of the future of decentralized distributed work. And when I think about back to my time in the Army, it was team focused. And again, if we didn't focus on the team or working together to the mission, it was just downright dangerous. So in my mind, Sobel is just more of what the US Army was than what Google was, where it was more about the individual and the individual getting ahead, even if that was to the detriment of the team. So that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions, happy to address them.